Hello, everyone. Welcome to ICANA webinar series for English language teachers. My name is Graciela Martin. I'm very happy to be hosting today's webinar, Teaching Teens in a Virtual Environment. ICANA webinar series is an initiative to support the English language teaching community by sharing our best practices at ICANA. During today's webinar, the presenters, Verónica de la Vega and Pablo Florentin, both ICANA teachers, will share the experience they gained in the past 19 months in motivating and engaging adolescent students in this virtual environment. Let me tell you a little bit about Pablo and Verónica. Verónica has been teaching at ICANA since 2007. She is a translator and has been an exchange teacher to the US and Jamaica. She also holds a diploma on teaching and linguistics from Universidad de Buenos Aires. She took a course on critical thinking at World Learning, SIT Graduate Institute, a program sponsored by the US State Department. Pablo has been teaching online courses at ICANA for over 10 years already, and he has been developing materials since 2015. He is an expert in rapid e-learning. Pablo is a translator from Escuela Superior en Lenguas Vivas, Sofia Spanskenberg, and he has done a course on the art of assessment of English language learning, a program sponsored by the US State Department. So without further ado, join me in welcoming Verónica and Pablo. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. I'm reading you in the channel. So thank you for joining us today. Those of you who are participating in the live event or watching at a later time, we appreciate you being here. It's always good to meet with teachers. Hi, hello. Actually, I was thinking 2 minutes ago when I was waiting, I was thinking about a teacher who once told me that I was just starting, and she just told me that teaching teenagers is like keeps you young because they are so enthusiastic and they have a fresh outlook on the world. So definitely teaching teens can keep you young or make you prematurely old, she said. Have you heard that one? Honestly, I don't think they are the only two variables, but it probably speaks volumes about the attitude that we have in this profession. So anyway, let me tell you briefly what we can expect today. I had the great joy of working with Pablo. We sat down to discuss and define the challenges we encounter teaching teenagers online. We brainstormed strategies and came up with a collection of ideas that we have tried ourselves and that we sincerely hope you will help enlarge. So again, this will be a dialogue or a tennis match between challenges and ideas. All right, Pablo will follow now, so on we go.
So we thought that we could start with these cartoons. They depict situations that we might run into during our online teaching, and we think that there are a number of challenges teaching online, especially teenagers, and we were curious to see which of these situations you might feel more connected with, right? So the question is, do any of these situations resonate with you? You should be able to answer a poll. Okay, take a couple of minutes to check each of the pictures and well, vote. And let's see what situation is the most popular one.
Okay, maybe we can stop the poll and share the results.
All right.
What do you think? Okay.
Yes, I think a good number of people have already answered. And well, apparently you
Getting a few more votes.
we're in
Sorry.
sync here. Honestly, picture D is one of my biggest concerns. You know, attention, right? That is a big issue for me, and how teenagers, they tend to be easily distracted. I mean, they have many things that are perhaps more interesting than the English class, and they just have to grab their cell phone and that's it. You lost them. So D apparently seems to be the most the picture that resonates the most with most of you. I think it's interesting that also C is a popular choice. This feeling that sometimes the student seems to be there, but not quite there, you know, like a zombie student or something. So that's also another concern that that we have. Good, and well, luckily, A and B, which were pictures showing technical and disciplinary issues, not such a popular answer. All right, interesting. Okay, so well, we decided to organize this this talk based on challenges. You know, teaching teams present a number of challenges in the online environment. So the first challenge we thought about was, well, in a real world classroom, you put on your teacher glasses, let's say, right? If we look at the picture, and immediately you detect that, well, there are some things going on in that classroom that might disrupt your teaching. So, you know, that boy at the back with a paper plane, you might want to sit him in the front. Those two girls chatting nonstop, you might have to separate them. And please, somebody wake up the sleeping students. So, you know, you already have a quick response for problems that may arise in the real world classroom. But what happens in the virtual one? There are things that could happen there that could also disrupt your class. And they are harder to spot. Perhaps, well, somebody may be producing a lot of noise because, you know, there is a barking dog or something going on in his house and his microphone is not muted. Somebody might arrive late because just woke up from a nap. Somebody might be playing Fortnite at the same time he is logged into our classroom. I mean, there are many things that could disrupt your class, and we thought that it would be a good idea to, first of all, agree on some basic classroom etiquette. So these are just some ideas. Probably you would think of others, but I think one good idea would be asking the students to be on time. Seems counterintuitive, but in the online world, people are also late sometimes. we can agree with them to try to limit distractions as much as possible. Please put away your cell phones, turn off the TV if it is on, you know. Try to be prepared. Of course, would be wonderful if they were prepared for the lesson from the academic standpoint, but also from the technical one, right? I mean, it would be great if they could join the class having checked that their microphone and camera are working properly and there are no issues with their computer, that sort of thing. Okay, that also would be part of being prepared. We would very much like them to participate, of course, but with their cameras on. But when they are not participating, we would also ask them to mute themselves. You know, now Zoom, Google Meet, etc. They handle echo much better, but it's not just echo the issue, right? I mean, sometimes there are things going on in a house that could distract the rest of the participants. So this is, I think, a very good idea to ask people to mute themselves when they are not actively participating. And also showing respect, especially, you know, online when people are talking. If you're not careful, you end up talking over the other person because sometimes there is a little bit of a delay. So try to respect the other person when they are speaking. Wait until they finish to interrupt, that sort of thing, you know. Also, we thought that it would be a good idea to establish, to make it very clear to students what is expected of them in this online class, a sort of learning contract of, in a way. So we really think it's very important that they participate. So in an online rubric, we ask them to rate their level of participation, right? We also think it's important for them to complete assignments. So that's another thing that they can check in the online learning rubric, and of course assess their own progress, so that everybody has an idea of how well they are doing. Once again, these are just a few ideas. Probably there are other things that could be included in this online learning rubric. Veronica, I think this is something you would like to talk about.
Yes, I would. So discussing and agreeing on basic norms, what Pablo was talking about, is followed, we feel, by an equally important challenge. I know we're not making a huge discovery here by saying that online everything seems to be more impersonal or distant, and building connection can be tough for both students and teachers, actually. I'm sure you haven't missed that part. In classroom or online, first, it's important to create a learning space where students are, you know, not afraid of making mistakes, mispronouncing words, or speaking out loud. In particular, because I don't know if this is your experience as well, but the voice happens to be somehow amplified in online learning. Some of our students might feel self-conscious, perhaps, or shy. And honestly, who wouldn't at 14, 16? Also, collaboration is one of the 21st century skills we want to highlight every class. We feel that connection really flourishes in a collaborative environment. We need to make it clear, abundantly clear, that everyone has a voice, everyone is heard, everyone has something to contribute to the group. This is so important. Imagine being an adult, being that adult, and a teacher that gives a student a clear message that it's okay to make mistakes, the kind of teacher that lets them know, I got your back, you belong to this community, you're seen, you're heard, you're valued. I think we will all want to be that kind of teacher. So building connection, I know as teachers, we already know that spending a few minutes at the beginning of the class, checking in with your students, talking for a little while, this is not idle time. We know that In online classroom, it's important to greet students where they connect, spend some time small talking, not just going over academic issues directly. And we wanted to share with you the idea of using mood meters. You can see 2 examples here in the screen. You can launch them as a poll. This is a technique actually borrowed from social emotional learning, adapted to the online environment and to our students' communicative preferences. The idea is to provide a space for different expressions instead of starting the class, asking the automatic question, okay, how's everybody doing? Okay, let's start the class. So we think that as a student, knowing that the teacher takes the time and cares is nice, it's reassuring, it helps create a good learning environment. I have different ones, like you can see 2 examples here. I paste them on the chat box basically and set up the poll. And they are good also to start a little conversation. I have one with animals, for example. The other day, a student, there's a penguin in one of the choices, and one student told me, oh, today I feel like a penguin. Why is that? I'm feeling happy today. So, provides an opportunity for a little chat as well. So, and it's fun. It's fun to start the class that way. Maybe not every class, but often enough. So, another thing that we know is that the chat is really a natural medium for teens. There are a number of situations where sending private messages becomes handy. If a student is typically late or leave class early, maybe a private message is very useful. We also want to avoid shaming and self-consciousness and not address any of these situations in front of the whole class. So this is a resource that we can use, and it's actually second nature to our students. I think I want to digress a little bit here, if you allow me, Graciela and Pablo, but I think the private chat can be used in many other different ways. I want to share with you, because this is so fun. I do a game near the end of each course where I send everybody a secret phrase. I call it secret phrase, actually. So I send everybody on the private chat an idiom, a collocation, a linguistic function, anything from past units. So the instructions are that the student have to use casually as possible the secret phrase during the class, and their classmates have to call out on them when they think they're using the secret phrase. So that class is so much fun. Everybody uses very interesting language. That's probably the best class of the whole course. So, our teenagers are very savvy in strategies, playing video games. So probably that contributes a little bit, because it's so interesting. I imagine they are flipping through the book, looking for other phrases just to say casually, to mislead their classmates. So this goes just, it's just an example of how creative we can get with online tools and think of new possibilities as well. Sorry for the digression, but okay. Anyway, coming back to the original idea, the original point here, we want to suggest using the personal chat as a tool to build connection, especially the same way that we probably would approach a student in person, in the class. So, okay. Another situation that probably doesn't translate very well online is the fact that in classroom we see our students, and there are so many details that tells us who our students are. They might wear a t-shirt with the name of the band, or come to class with sport gear. We know their sister goes to another course, perhaps. So, and things are much, much less observable online. One way to bridge this gap, perhaps, is asking more questions to get to know them. I personally take a lot of notes in a notebook all school. So if a student mentions they have a pet, or they would like to study medicine, anything actually, I will write it down. That piece of information always comes up later and is useful. So if you think for a moment and you imagine that you are attending a class And one day you mention something casually, you do yoga, for example, and a month later, the teacher remembers and says something about it. How do you think you would feel? It's so nice to feel heard and seen, and the impact that connection has on learning is huge. So maybe online we need to double efforts, and we certainly cannot teach someone we don't know. So building connection. We have gone over setting a safe collaborative environment, using the private chat, using mood meters, doubling efforts to get to know our students. So we are teaching. So building connection. Okay, so how's everybody doing so far? At this time, we would like to ask you, please use your reaction button to let us know how this is going. We would appreciate that. Let's see. So how's everybody doing? How's this going? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Pablo, over to you.
Okay. So now we'd like to share a short video with you, if my internet connection allows it. Let's see how that works.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
That's right, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Action.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
All right. So how many changes were you able to notice? Honestly, I did it myself. You know, in this sort of thing, it's always the butler. So I noticed something was going on with what the butler was holding, but not much more than that. And, you know, chances are that unless you're some kind of Rayman-style savant, you notice a couple of changes. You know, maybe 4 or 5. Wow, your attention powers are great. But the point I was trying to make with this little gimmick was that attention is limited, right? I mean, you use it to you apply to what you're doing. In this case, the detective applied his attention to when the petunias were planted, and he caught the murderer. What I would like to bring to your attention is that students' amount of attention for us is also limited. And this picture that you see here is basically what we don't want to happen. This is a student that could be following our class, completing the exercises, answering when prompted, but you know, he's going on fumes, running on empty. He at the end of the class, he will probably won't have learned much about our lesson. So this is the thing that we want to prevent, always bearing in mind that attention is a limited resource. We want to manage it. So how do we do that? And by the way, I think we have to assume that they are not going to get into our classroom even in the best situations with a full tank of attention, because probably in pandemic times they've already had other classes. They've been on the screen doing some work for school probably. So you know, what you see here, maybe half a tank is what we have to work with. There is this idea that if we do certain things, we can get our student engaged, which is you know, more than mere motivation, because well, especially with teenagers, their motivation is basically their parents told them to study English, like many other things when you're a teenager. But at least we want them to use whatever attention they have in store in our lesson. So we want to get them curious about what we're going to see in the lesson. We want them to participate, right? We want to throw the ball to them as much as we can. And we want to do, you know, whatever gimmick possible to make sure that they are going to pay attention to us. So there are a number of things that probably you're already doing that I like to mention as a challenge, right? So our challenge is, okay, so our students' attention is limited. We want to make sure they're engaged. How do we get them engaged? Well, we can try to use a hook. A movie, a picture, even a bit of a storytelling. So I thought that perhaps I could share with you a situation in which I found myself teaching teenagers in an advanced level. There was this lesson which dealt with hunter-gatherer societies, right? Not the most sexy topic for teenagers, you can imagine. And the author was trying to make the point that these societies that were one stage of human evolution before we decided that it was too much work to hunt animals and search for food. It was easier to, you know, get a farm and also grow crops on a certain place, right? Then you had a little bit of free time and you sort of had time to think of philosophy, laws, literature, and suddenly, you know, here we are with a complex society. But these people, they didn't want to move on. They kept that simple way of life. And the author was trying to make the point that maybe that was not so bad. I mean, these people were not stressed out. They were active all the time. They were pretty healthy. They had no possessions, you know, John Lennon style, living in peace. And well, that is the topic that I wanted to engage my students with. And well, I told them a little story like this. I also tried a picture. This is a movie poster from a hit movie from the 80s. Perhaps some of you remember it, The Gods Must Be Crazy. It was about the star of the movie is a bushman who lived in harmony in a pretty idyllic society until somebody threw an empty Coca-Cola bottle on them. and that completely altered their peaceful life. Of course, always super effective, a video clip of the movie, which, you know, is wonderful nowadays how you can find almost anything in YouTube. So it shows them how they were living peacefully until this foreign element from our civilization showed up. Those are, you know, classic hooks. Another thing that was recently brought to my attention is that you can also get them engaged like immediately using something that has been called a blind Kahoot, which is doesn't have to be done with Kahoot, by the way, but the idea is you just throw a quiz at your students and probably they won't know how to answer because they don't know much about the topic, but maybe they do know something about the topic, right? So that is a way to activate what they know and remind them what they don't know, and maybe you get them a bit curious about the topic. So I would like to try that with you, if you feel like playing a little bit. I'd like to do it in quizzes, which is a Kahoot style gamification program. Just give me a second to launch it. Okay, I'll post the link in the chat to make it easy for you. All you have to do is click on the link and put your name, and then you can participate. Thank you. There we are. All right. Okay, so let's get started. But as you can see, the gamification aspect is really well done, just as in Kahoot. You get power-ups and little things during the game. You get some memes that make fun of you when you make mistakes.
Pablo,
Yes.
maybe if you can stop the music, because we can't hear you. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, there it is.
Okay.
So as I was saying, no, I don't think so. So what's interesting in this system compared to Kahoot is that at the end of the game, you can quickly see what the toughest question was, right? I mean, this apparently gave trouble to some people, so you can analyze that with your students. Which one took the longest to answer, right? That the one that made people think more. You can get an idea, as you saw before, how well the whole class is doing. And then you can analyze question by question why, you know, the mistakes were made. But well, you were just so good that we cannot do that. You seem to know a lot about early math. Well, I just wanted to bring this tool to your attention as an alternative to Kahoot, and use it this way, you know, to create curiosity among your students, right? As one more hook. Veronica, I think you can take over now.
So another idea to get our students engaged is to sparkle their curiosity with unusual questions. So thought-provoking questions. We feel that they will also challenge them a bit and promote class conversation, communication with their peers. I personally keep a file with questions about different topics and then pick and use one that matches the unit or lesson. Here you can see a few examples. I use emojis for fun. Typically, I paste them in the chat in the main room, sometimes in breakout rooms when a group or pair finishes before the others. I would give them a question related to the topic to have a little extra chat. So have a look. There are some examples here. The first one, for example, is my biggest hit, about an impending apocalypse. And in my experience, as I've been using this one with every group since last year, they love it. They love zombies. So, and actually I'm very intrigued that every group would choose The Rock, you know, actor Dwayne Johnson. I'm very, very tempted to ask you, please try this one and let me know if your groups also choose The Rock, because I find it so amazing that every class chooses the same person, that I'm super intrigued. Okay, Pablo will follow now.
Well, we wanted to get our students engaged, and now we need to keep them engaged for as long as we can. This is something that those of you who are ICANA teachers will find familiar, right? We want a student-centered classroom, and one of the things that we do in that regard is a lot of debates, group work, and role-playing. So that's one of the things we do to keep our students engaged. Also, and this is something that also appears in the plans that we use at ICANA, is we change dynamics during the class. We do a listening, we do a bit of speaking, then perhaps write a conclusion. That's another thing that helps keeping students engaged, you know, switching activities constantly.
We think that it's very important to diversify materials. For example, using videos strategically throughout the session to maybe hit some points or tell stories, sometimes re-engage students who might have become distracted. You can use dead animations, for example, movie trailers, commercials. The one that you see here in the screen is from The Atlantic. They have a YouTube channel. It's about the history of transportation. They have the history of houses. So it's really interesting. Video content is like a magnet for our students to use in classes. I mean, also using photos to drive discussions and visual games, like the image that you can see on the right. Here, students have to name the brands behind the logos. These are just some examples of how we can diversify materials. Also, when we do so, when we vary materials, we're also catering to different learning styles, students who are more visual, those who prefer listening, hands-on learners, and so on. We wanted to present the idea of a tool to go from static to interactive content. This is Genially. I love Genially. They provide templates that you can adapt. You don't have to start from scratch. I'm going to ask Pablo, please, if you can share the link in the chat box. So if anybody wants to have a look at this one in particular, this is a game. It's a review quiz for comparatives and superlatives. Yeah, whenever. Yeah, there's time. So whenever you can. So just the link in the chat box is just for you if you want to have a better look, or save it for later and have a look later, maybe. So, well, basically the way it works is that students click on start, not rocket science here. So a series of questions will appear. Supposedly, let's imagine that they click on a wrong answer, the one on the left, perhaps. This will come up. They try again. The options will reappear. They choose the one on the right, and now they got the right answer, and they go back to the second question, and so on. So this is Genially. If anybody is not familiar with it, give it a try, because it's super nice. It's easy to use. Again, they provide templates. You don't have to start from scratch. You can reuse a lot of Genially's interactive frames that other teachers have used, slightly adapt them. And this one here that you see in the screen is one I made last year during lockdown. I call it Visit an English-speaking country from the convenience of your own living room. And students can click on any country on the map. Suppose that they click, we have a link also. So Pablo, if you want to share this link too for later, if anybody cares to have a look. Oh, both? Okay.
Posted it. Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Righty. Thank you. So suppose they click on another country, Canada, and the thing about Genially is that you can add video, photos, audios. Here they have 2 videos, one about the Canadian accent, another one about 10 top places to visit in Canada. You can click on the icons, and a window pops up that lets you know about that particular icon. There's an audio, Mystery City, so you can go back, explore, maybe click on another one, India. So it's a lot of fun, maybe to explore, and it's a way that students can explore and play and read and interact with content on their own. So Genially, give it a try.
Okay, so at ICANA, we don't do coffee breaks in our online classrooms, but there are times when you might notice that the energy in the class is running low. So one thing that you can do is play a little game, you know, something that that takes your brain to another topic, and that is something that can replenish a bit of that energy. So one thing that I think we could do to have a little brain break here is to play a game designed with H5P. Those of you who are ICANA teachers, you know that this is a tool that is available for you in the LMS, and it's I mean, I cannot stress enough what a wonderful thing is that H5P is a free tool, MIT license. It's going to stay free, and you can create complex experiences just investing a little bit of time. The things you can do with this are equivalent to a tool that is $1,000 a year to use, right? So that's why I'm so I'm really so taken with H5P that allows you to do so much for free. So you have a link in the chat. You might want to give it a try now. It's you know, test your lateral thinking, or maybe you are a logical thinker. So there is a little bit of both challenges for you. This is an H5P interaction that's basically it's called book, right? You click on read, and you get this. You have you can advance just clicking on the next brain teaser, or you can select one from the menu. This is a simple multiple choice one about where the egg will fall. This is an example of a fill in the blanks in which you have to guess who this entity is that is talking to you. This one is an example of find the right image or the hotspot. Basically, all these people are not paying attention, and they're going to get hurt in one way or another. But there is one person here who is the safest, right? Who is not going to get as hurt as the others. So once again, lateral thinking. If you spot it right away, great. If not, don't worry. This is another example of a simple fill in the blanks. If you can guess what the rule is, you can easily guess what the number is right there. And finally, this was very popular on the internet a while ago. They say that grown-ups started doing some math in order to guess what the number is in some kind of series. But 10-year-old kids did it in like 2 minutes. So don't overthink it, okay? This one should be quite easy to guess. Right, so well, we had our little brain break, and I wanted to take the opportunity to remind you that H5P is a powerful tool. If you don't have access to an LMS with a plugin for H5P, you can create your own in h5p.org, and creating it, you know, having an account there is absolutely free. And for the time being, you can host it there The one that you're doing is hosted there for free. That might change in the future. They might want to do something more professional for hosting activities, but for now, you're free to create one and host it there for free.
Okay, so keeping them engaged. Online, we feel that we need to use visual content to engage students and also to clarify tasks. In a student-centered class, the teacher provides a framework for debate. We have the opportunity to foster critical thinking skills, formulating questions, especially open-ended questions that will lead our students to explore and expand their views. In my personal experience, teenagers love to share their opinions and discuss about life and the world. It's interesting sometimes to point out that the debate doesn't necessarily have to stay simply in agreeing or disagreeing with a viewpoint, so that they are able to listen more attentively, perhaps without the need to respond right away with their version of the story. I really try by all means available to promote peer connection and encourage them to make questions of their own, which will make the discussion actually more meaningful.
Another thing that we can do to keep them engaged is to use image prompts like memes, right? This is a pretty famous one, to kickstart some interesting discussion. And also, you can use brief collaborative tasks, such as this one you can see on screen. Students have to write a caption, sort of, for these pictures in groups, right? So they are doing a writing activity, but it's sort of a fast one, right?
Okay, I hope you like the ideas we're presenting so far. Online learning has opened up a lot of new possibilities, not only to offer content as we have shown in different media, but also to assign tasks to be done using different media, not just text form. And that was, this is actually a brilliant possibility. Early last year, 2020, at ICANA, we saw the possibility of giving speaking assignments, which can be done not only if you have the apps on a campus, but also using, for example, Vocaro, the link, you have the link here in the screen. Vocaro allows students to record an MP3 and send it to the teacher, which is another great possibility. Another tool that we can use is Padlet. Padlet lets you create collaborative boards where everyone can publish and interact. The assignment that you see here was to create a word cloud in pairs. Excuse me. They had to create a word cloud in pairs with papers, words, brands, anything associated with the word innovation. So the students brainstorm ideas, they made a list, they created a word cloud, and finally they uploaded it to the Padlet. So it's great that everybody can see what everybody in the class has done.
Another thing that is interesting about Padlet is that students can answer in a social media style to what the other classmates have done, not just with text, but also with images or videos.
Okay, so engaging our students, we have discussed about different tools, different ideas for you to try and explore. And now we come to the final part. It's the time to reflect. We teachers have so much more agency when we work together. I think Pablo and I are a great example of that. We sat down to discuss and define the biggest challenges teaching teenagers online, and then we came up with with ideas to tackle these challenges. Of course, this goes without saying that all this can be improved on, enlarged, hopefully scaffolded. But anyway, at this point, we would like to suggest a few questions for discussion in groups. We have created a Padlet. You will find the link in the chat box. It's an opportunity to try if you haven't done so before. We would love to know your thoughts. We're going to break out in groups for 6 minutes and then come back and share a few final ideas. Please appoint a secretary to write on the Padlet. We will be working on the 2 questions that you have here in the screen, and the questions are also in the Padlet. So again, let's recap. We will be discussing these questions in group. Use the link in the chat box to enter the Padlet. You will find the questions there too. And appoint a secretary to write. You click anywhere on the board. If you're not familiar with it, just click anywhere on the board and a text area will appear. So.
Okay, yes, we're beginning to realize that perhaps this could have taken longer.
Yes.
Anyway, the Padlet link is going to remain active. If you feel like sharing some ideas, that would be great, honestly. But like I said, this remains open, and we would much appreciate any ideas that you have on how you keep your teenagers engaged.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. That's the best part of all, when we are putting our brains together and come up with ideas.
Exactly. I'm sure that there are dozens of ideas that you have that would be super useful for everybody. So
I would like to share my experience, because I'm not participating much, because I haven't taught English for 2 years. I've been head of a school in Bariloche for 3 years. So I've been working very hard as a head, but I haven't taught English for 2 years, and I'm planning to go back to teaching. So I wanted to know what ICANA teachers had been doing, just to have ideas for my next year. So that's why I can't tell you much, but I liked listening to your experience and ideas
we
very
hope
much.
it's been useful to you then, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know,
Thank you.
Belen and everybody, that you will have access to the recording of this webinar
Excellent.
and the previous webinars that we have held. So thank you for being
Excellent.
here.
Thank
So
you.
now you're welcome. So now it's time for questions. You can write them in the chat. Are there any questions that you would like to ask? Okay, thank you. So Ruben Piñataro from Chajari is asking, how can you manage all these sites in a classroom without spending too much time?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Ruben. Thank you so much. There are a lot of tools that we have presented that already provide templates, and if this is what you're asking, so this is one way. You don't have to do everything from scratch. There are a lot of things that are already made, and I know it takes a little while. Maybe you have to sit down and explore, but actually then you get the hang of it. And for example, with quizzes, if you have all the questions written down already in a file, then you basically copy paste. So I don't know, Pablo, if you have another suggestion.
Yes,
for that.
this also is true for Kahoot, Bambusu, and many other tools of this sort. You know, all teachers pitch in. So chances are, whatever topic you want to teach, somebody has done something already. What you can do is, you know, you have like 5 minutes to do this. You do a search, find one that has a lot of likes and has been used a lot. That's a good indication that is good material. And you can edit it. So if there are some questions that are not relevant for your class, or maybe you disagree with them, you go ahead and eliminate them or edit them. In quizzes, there is even an option to search individual questions, not just the whole quiz. So that gives you even more flexibility. So I'm telling you, if you're in a rush, in 5 minutes you can come up with a game. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. See no more questions, so maybe we can wrap up.
All right. So Veronica, you have the screen. Can you?
Yes, excuse me, I was paying attention to the chat. So.
Yeah, so was I. Sorry. Yeah. Well, as you can see, this is an image that we all like to see, the engaged student. This is what we try to accomplish here. We try to build a connection with them, and on an emotional level, we try to create a safe space that provides a setting in which with effort and a bit of luck, we can get them to participate actively, to follow basic rules of online etiquette, and have a good time teaching, then learning. That's what we like to do, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
So thank you very much, Pablo and Veronica, for all your hard work and for sharing your experience with us today. And thank you to the participants for being here. Hope you enjoyed this webinar, and hope to see you in the last webinar of this year that will be held on November 26th. And it's about authentic materials, the use of authentic materials in the classroom. So thank you very much again. Nice seeing you all. Bye-bye.